Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and boy, do we have an amazing episode today. We've got Anthony Sarandrea from Siteflood.com. Sorry about that, Siteflood. Anthony, you are one of the greatest guys that's behind a lot of the scenes here. You've been featured in Forbes, Inc., Entrepreneur. You even help at ASU College in entrepreneurship. You drive hundreds of thousands of customers to other people on a daily basis. So you're kind of the genius behind the scenes. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us. How are you doing?
Hey, C, what's up, bro? Super pumped to be here. Thanks for having me.
So it's not often we get someone of your caliber that pulls a lot of strings behind the scenes. Normally it's the front-facing people that we get. So I'm super excited to really learn more and share more about you and your story of success. So can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the backstory and bring it forward to today.
For sure, bro. Yeah, like you mentioned, we're essentially the customer generator for a lot of these, Fortune 500 companies, the Geicos, Progressive, Liberty Mutuals of the world. And we're the conduit between the customer and the people actually doing the servicing. So we spend tens of thousands of dollars a day on essentially educating, attracting, and getting in front of customers for, again, different finance and insurance products. And then sending them or making an introduction to these, like a Geico, and we get paid on the handoff for that. So we do that at a super high rate, like you mentioned, through paid advertisements online. And yeah, so, I guess, how I got started in that was actually door-to-door sales. So when I look back on it, I realize how much there are similarities where you have to grab someone's trust within 2 to 3 seconds. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these similarities, that, value propositions, it's really you're selling when you're running online advertisements as well too. So that kind of background or my beginnings really helped lead to why I think we're so successful today and why we built the team that's so successful today. It's really, I joke, they're like online sales guys really at the end of the day. But it's that same, mentality as going door to door, knocking on doors left and right.
I think there's a lot to be said about that. When I obviously we speak with many successful CEOs and entrepreneurs like yourself, and a lot of them have some form of that in them from a very early age, where whether it was knocking on doors or trading cards or selling lemonade, they've just had that kind of drive from a young age. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because taking rejection at such a young age and being able to push through it is a skill set and a mindset, more importantly, that elevates you to that next level. Have you had that same experience, or what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, for sure. I think a couple things to your point. One is it gives you incredibly thick skin, which I think is very important in life, especially today. Cancel culture. You post something on Facebook, you get 4 comments saying that you're the devil. You know what I mean? You're like, dude, what? So I think that thick skin is so important today, and that focus on you, and really that it's you versus you in the mirror, and how quickly can you have short-term memory loss on, where necessary. Things like that, I think, play so important to sales, but into business today, like you mentioned. And, I think everything from hustling or lemonade to knocking doors, I think that's better than any master's education there is out there. And I think, really, again, it gives you, at the end of the day, for me, I think I handle adversity better than anyone else on the planet. And I think a lot of successful people, carry that same pride on how they handle adversity. And we have adversity in our relationships, in our life, in our health, in our business, and really becoming a master of the mindset around, my identity is I am the best at handling adversity than anybody else. And I think when people can start adopting those types of identities to themselves, not the complainer or life never goes my way, or, life sucks and then you die, kind of, mantras that, some people will fall victim, that victimhood. I think that owning your own experience in life mentality is something that's been really, really important to me, to be happy, forget business, forget relationship. Just my overall happiness is owning my own experience. I'm a, Tony Robbins says, I'm not a manager of my circumstances. I'm a creator of my universe, and I really, really believe that.
Yeah, and I agree. We're both big Tony guys, and we keep that mindset strong, and your network is your net worth. So let's go back to kind of your story where you're transitioning from door-to-door salesman, and then let's go through kind of starting your first business.
Yeah, I mean, really, the motivation was funny. A lot of people get motivated by, again, back to today, Lamborghinis or $10 million homes. My motivation was freedom of time. So I loved to play basketball, and I saw someone, really shooting hoops in midweek, and I was like, what the heck does this guy do? Because I'm out there, you got to remember, 10, 12 hours a day, pounding the pavement, knock, slam, knock, slam, knock, slam. And seeing him, I said, what does he do? He said he worked on the internet. And I joked, the vehicle of sitting in front of a computer is like hell to me. The thought of sitting down in a chair on a computer, staring at a screen for hours is like the biggest torture thing you can do to me. But I quickly learned just that, to focus on the end product you're looking for, not necessarily the vehicle that's taking you there. And through that, I think you can get through a lot of things that you otherwise would promise yourself you wouldn't do. I vowed to myself I'd never sit at a desk and have to work in front of a computer. That's why I got into sales. Well, here I am staring at you in front of a computer, and I think it's because it allows me to get to my ultimate goal, which is to impact more people, touch more people, be able to sell outside of that. So, really the journey came from, again, the door-to-door sales to getting fed up with the fact that I was limited to Arizona. I was limited to the city I was in, to my 24 hours in a day. And I said, how can I amplify that? And really I went from making great money in sales to working for someone for free, learning the ropes. And it was a very humbling experience for me. And
that's a really good point, right? So it's like, firstly, you realize that you couldn't maximize your time because of, one, you had to physically do the work yourself. You couldn't build a team of people or an army of electronic devices doing this for you. Two, geographical location. You're not going to drive from Arizona to LA overnight just to hit up a new area. So you also have that constraint. And then obviously the low rates of closing people, just knocking on the door rather than other ways and methods to do it. So you found a mentor that helped guide you in a new way that you didn't know. And then you went from making some money to then saying, hey, I need to learn this. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. So that's really humbling. And a lot of people don't really see that side of it, which is really a lot of the reasons I resonate with that story, because it's hard, right? Those aren't easy times when you go from making some money to no money and you feel as if you're taking a step backwards, but really your mental strength is saying, no, this is the way I can scale to something even bigger, because I'm building a stronger platform and a stronger base to then catapult off.
Yeah. And I think for me, it was one step backwards for, presumably 10 steps forward. And of course it's become so much more than 10 steps forward now. But at the time, I continue to drill that into my head. And I don't care if you're 50 years old, you have a lot of time. People talk about how fast time moves. I think it moves very slow. I think I feel like I've lived forever and I've got forever to live still. So this idea, even if you're 50 listening to this, you're 60 and you go, you know what? I don't know how many more years I have left on this planet. I'll just keep doing what I've been doing. Like, screw that, dude. I completely disagree. And as I get older, there's more validity to me saying that, because when I'm, in my young 20s and teens saying that, people are like, well, it's because you're a kid. As I'm getting older and older, people are starting to be like, wow, okay, that is something I can adopt at this age, kind of thought process. So that one step back, I find that happening in a lot of things, whether it's relationally for me sometimes, whether it's in hobbies for me. I'm picking up golf and I'm fucking miserably bad at it. But it's those humbling, like it's that underdog story that I love. So that same idea of, working for $0, but getting paid in knowledge was attractive to me, because I had this faith that it was going to be, 10 steps forward, and it ultimately ended up being that. And, I guess just to continue along that path, I went from being able to fill myself up as really create a job for myself as a consultant. Really, at the end of the day, I created a job. I didn't have a business. I don't think, if you're a slave to, I remember I was in a meeting one time and someone goes, if you can't spend a full day away from your phone, you've created a job for yourself. You haven't created a business. And I was like, and that for me was like the target mark to say I'm a business owner, when I could disappear for 24 hours and things didn't fall apart. And, it really took me probably 2 years, year and a half, 2 years to be able to get to that point where I didn't have clients calling me, or I didn't have people bugging me, or team members saying I need this or I can't move forward. And I think a lot of people spend decades trying to get to that point where they've really created a job for themselves. They're not a business owner in my opinion. And A lot of learnings and milestones along the way there too, we can dive into, but I think that's an important distinction that I really had a bullseye on from day one when I started my own business. I really created my own job, and, to move to my own business, I think is a big distinction.
And it's good that you mentioned that, because, I think a lot of entrepreneurs start with the intention of, hey, I want to work for myself. I want to start my own business so I have more free time, but they end up just being a slave to that business, and not really getting to that second part of the conversation where it's, how do I now be able to step away from this and it not be critical around me? And that's kind of the next advanced level of skill, rather than just throwing time and time and time into a business idea or coaching, consulting, or whatever it is the business is. But let's talk something more about kind of the steps that you took and kind of some of the adversity you had along the way to your successes, especially with the big business that you run right now, which is generating tens of millions of dollars for people on a daily basis, and how you really scaled that.
Yeah, I'd say, I'll start from early days, relinquishing control. And I think hopefully a lot of people on here can resonate with that when it comes to hiring team members. And I had someone say, if you can hire someone that's 70% as good as you, that's a win. And for me, that was a huge relief off my shoulders, because I kept going, well, I do bookkeeping better than my bookkeeper. I do media buying better than I report. I do client, I do everything better than everybody. No shit, dude. You're the business owner. No shit you do. And it was that kind of look in the mirror that was like, okay, so the goal is to hire someone 70% as good as me. And it's an ego pat on the back is really what it ends up being. Because today everyone's better than me at every position there. I'm feel useless. I'm a cheerleader today, which I think is exactly where I want it to be. Hire people that are smarter than me. But it's naive to say that you're gonna be able to hire an A player day one when it's just you at that point too. So for me, it was that relinquishing of control that was probably the first adverse thing I had to get over it. And for me, it was that mantra, hire someone 70% as good as myself. And I think it gets back to what is that bullseye? And for whatever reason today, that's really resonating with me. What is that thing you're targeting? And for me, again, it was that freedom of time. So I knew if I was the one doing the bookkeeping, the this, the that, the client manager, the media buying, that wasn't getting me to my ultimate goal, which was freedom of time. And I had to say, got it. I'm going to hire Casey, come on and do bookkeeping, and I'm okay for you to screw it up to a 30% variance. And you would, and you probably screwed up even more at the beginning. And I'd say, that's okay. We need to make a few mistakes in order to get there, because I don't want to do bookkeeping forever. I can't do it. I won't do it. It's not going to happen. And you'd screw it up to an 80% variance. And then maybe you were a bad hire. Maybe the next hire was better and you got it to 30%. And today the good thing is I've got people that do it to a 500% better than me. But day one, it really was that realign expectations to say, get someone who can do it 70% as good as you, was very helpful for me to get to my ultimate goal, which was to be a business owner.
So that's a very common trend that we hear, but a lot of the time people get caught up on that, right? So that first step of letting go, and I think you put it really well. You articulated it really well in terms of getting something done 70% is better than it being on my to-do list and not really getting round to it. And therefore more stress, more panic, and less time for me to do what I want to do, and more time doing this boring stuff like bookkeeping that no one really wants to do, right? Yeah. So can you give some advice, or what did you go through at that? Let's just go back to hire number one, where you acknowledge this person isn't going to be an A player, but they're going to take off 70% of the burden of you. What were some of the steps that allowed you the space to kind of do that, allow them to make mistakes, because you were so clear on the long-term picture of, we've got to make mistakes to grow and see where we can get in the future? Because that is a key mindset piece, I believe.
Yeah, I'd say for me, it was very easy early on to hire for jobs I hated doing, like very monotonous. Again, I use bookkeeping as an example. That was such an easy hire for me. I didn't want to fucking bookkeep. An admin assistant, setting up meetings, all this stuff. And those were so easy. Where it got hard, where it was like, for me, it was buying Google AdWords. So ads on Google. I thought I was the fucking best, and maybe I was the best. And I thought I was so good at that. And that became so difficult for me to relinquish control for. And, I think tactically today, everything down to doing your laundry. I think if you're trying to start a business, run a business, if you're running a business, I think make a list of everything you're doing that you don't like to do. And I think you need to hire for it ASAP. And a lot of these you can hire very cheaply, so it's not a huge pocketbook, a drag on you. And then on the other side, it becomes addicting for me when I had someone 10 hours a week doing admin stuff for me. I was like, holy shit, I used to do those 10 hours. That's tight. I got 10 hours back in my pocket. Like writing those checks were actually very exciting and became addicting. So tactically, I'd say hire for jobs you don't like doing. To start is step number one, things you don't like to do. And it's just that piece of paper. And honestly, I'll sometimes spend days where every 5 to 10 minutes, I'll write down what I just did and I'll have 4 pages of notes. And then I'll go back at night and I'll circle all the things that I didn't want to do or weren't high value or I didn't like that I was doing. And those are the things I start either getting off my plate, I stop doing, or I delegate, I hire for, and I get someone on there. And so I think tactically that's number one. And then really, like we talked about mindset wise to get it over, it became so crystal clear when I actually just reflected on where I wanted to go. So I would challenge anyone on here, like, where do you want to be in a year? If you want to make 200 grand and work 90 hours a week, amazing. I bet that's not most people. I bet most people either want to make more money, which you need to delegate for, or they want more time, or they want both ideally. And you know, you pounding the pavement, meaning doing everything from A to Z, it is literally impossible for you to get. It is impossible for you to get there if you're doing everything A to Z. So it became so clear that I needed to hire. And when somebody was horrible, got it. I need to keep doing this because otherwise I can't get to that point. Even if I got burnt, I hired a bookkeeper and they stole from me. This is a true story. Stole from me. I said, I got to hire another one. I can't get gun shy at this point because otherwise I'm not going to be able to relinquish my time. And then the next one rang up a bunch of hours that were bullshit hours. I said, I can't get gun shy. I can't get jaded by this. I got to do it again. And then eventually I found someone who's incredible, been with me for 7 years at this point in this silly example, in that position. But I think that understanding of the North Star of where you're going and consistently looking at that helps you through some of those jaded moments that most people take a step back. They go, stole from me. I knew it. I knew I should have been doing bookkeeping. I will never hire a bookkeeper again. You're stuck there for another decade, 2 decades. You're stuck.
Let me just reframe that because you've dropped so many value bombs in the space of like 2 minutes there. So one is really be aligned with where you want to get to and be clear on that. So what is the end goal? In this case, time management, right? So everything we do is to take yourself a step further away, incrementally out of the day-to-day monotony. Make that list of to-do items, rank them as you're going through them, reflect on it daily to see, hey, what was it I did well, I didn't enjoy, or I did enjoy, and then put the things that you like the least on that list and rank them the highest. So you can then have kind of a job description. You can segment it into different types of jobs. Some will be bookkeeping, some will be admin. They might require different skill sets, but you can definitely find virtual assistants in the world that we're living in right now to pick up part-time gigs that will do these tasks for you. But you have to have solid operating procedures. You've got to be able to train them. And more importantly, you touched on it there. If the first 1 or the first 5 hires don't work out, don't stop looking, because the right person is out there that will be able to help you, that will eventually help you get to that end goal of yours. And don't give up after the first hire not working out, or not stealing from you in this case, or kind of stealing from you with the second case as well, where you're adding more fake hours on. But when you find the right person, like you did eventually, that's been with you now 7 years, and the amount of time you're thinking about bookkeeping is like virtually zero at this point, right?
And what's the alternative? The alternative is you're going to work 100 hours and kill yourself because you're working yourself into the grave. So it's a very easy decision every time.
Absolutely. So some really, really good tangible tips there. So now, as we kind of fast forward further into your success, and you built a team that you trust, that you rely on, and some of them, let's just say it's a mix of people that are taking 70% of the slack, and then you start elevating higher and higher and hiring better people. Let's talk a little bit about your leadership team that's with you right now and how they perform.
Yeah, I'd say, I guess anything more specific you want to chat about on them, other than I can do a 10,000 foot broad stroke, but anything more specific you want to chat through on a leadership team that would be beneficial?
Yeah, let's go from that second step of someone that's maybe 30% variance to now someone who's an A player. How do you how do you go from that?
Thank you. Yeah, I think it comes back to reinvesting in, people say reinvesting in the business. I think it's bullshit. I think it's reinvesting back in yourself. So let's say I made 100 grand first year. I was investing 50 grand back and getting a $50,000 employee. Then I made 250 grand. I was putting 150 grand back into the business, hiring people for more and more roles. And even today, where we're doing millions of dollars to the bottom line, how can I spend that most efficiently? Do I keep it in a bank account? Well, then you're losing 2% on your money as cash depreciates. Can I put it in the stock market? Okay, historically, the SP 500 gives me 8% returns. Great. Can I put it back in my business? What are my percent growth returns in my business? They're high. That's the best place I can actually invest my money is back in there. So it's really spending more than you're comfortable with on an employee, on a subcontractor, on a agency. It's reaching just a tiny bit outside of your comfort zone of saying, great, I love that I made 150 grand this year. Do I want to make 200 grand next year, or do I want to try and make 500 grand next year? And those are and both are okay, by the way. I'm not saying you have to keep doing all this shit to make millions of dollars. But those are very different decisions. If I made 150K and I said, good money, let me chill here, I'm making a much different decision than if I say next year I'm trying to make 500 grand in my bottom line. I have to take different actions to do that. And I think for me, again, looking at that same mindset, I knew I could, I had a mentor tell me, Anthony, if you can't go get a 6-figure job selling, I'll personally come shoot you in the head. So he said, there's really no risk. So for me, reinvesting back in the business, I always know I have a do-over button, which is go sell shit, and I can make 100 grand a year and cover all my expenses. So there really is no risk for me. That might be for someone different who's got 4 kids and you're 60 and maybe not. I don't know where that lines, but essentially, to answer your question, it's stepping outside of your comfort zone on the amount you're paying people and the type of employee you're getting. And I got to hear a buddy who got to hear Magic Johnson speak at an event. And he said, hire the A players today because you'll always come around to hiring them. And I totally, now as I reflect in my life, I realize anytime I've hired even a B player, I've eventually wanted the A player. And I lost time in between. I lost a year and a half hiring the B player. Now I want the A player. I lost a year and a half. So if I can go and really invest in someone who's the CMO of my competition and his salary is 30% higher than I even thought I was going to ever be able to pay. When you get the right person in there, and maybe it's not always that they're expensive, but when you get the right person in there, your whole world changes, your business changes, your life changes, your happiness changes. So to answer your question, outside of hiring for the things you don't like, go hire someone who perceived or presumably is better than you at that position, or you think is, or has a better track record, who's maybe out of your league. Go shoot for those people out of your league earlier rather than later.
Wow. Okay. That's some real good advice. And, that's a great aspirational goals to get to. And it's time saved initially is what you're saying is, like you said, the year and a half of being with that B player, knowing that you'll need that A player later. You fast track that growth as well with the A player because you get those results quicker with better people and then better results as well.
100%. Yeah. Like I said, I joke I'm the dumbest person in my team, on my team's room. They're like, they're feeding me with what I'm going, hey, what do you need? What can I help with? Well, we're doing this. I'm like, anything I can do to support that kind of thing. And again, that's a nice thing to say today, but even from employee 1, employee 2, I'm going to be dramatic here. If I knew what I knew now, I would have taken out loans to go be able to hire someone for 6 figures when I was making 40 grand a year. Like I legitimately would have made those investments back in the business. And I think that's important for business owners to hear who are scared or comfortable where they're at with their current income, to put that back into getting someone good. And the reason why you probably have been burnt with people, the reason I got burnt with those bookkeepers is I knew they weren't top people. They were $20 an hour bookkeepers. Well, now I have a bookkeeper I pay $50 an hour. There's some out there for $75 an hour. And doesn't always mean more money equals a better person, but generally speaking, it might. So it's more of a conversation to invest back in the type of people you're bringing into the organization, not just get the cheaper salary, it's get the better person. And that doesn't always mean it's double the salary or whatever.
It's so funny you should mention that because the pricing model that I use in my business and Together CFO is not based around an hourly rate at all, which is so alien for my industry because you look at legal and you look at CPAs and it's all a flat hourly rate or a flat price, but we base on value. So if we provide X amount of value, that's how much we base our prices on. And it's like, it's really hard for a lot of people to really understand that. But the top 1% of people that are in our world they're used to dealing with people based on a value basis. So it really, it means a lot. And to find the best people that are the best fit, you often have to look a little harder because a lot of people are competing to get those people on board.
Yeah, and I think real quick too, because I know I'm talking a lot about money and paying more. I think it's very interesting to note a few things. I've got a pipeline of people I'm recruiting at any time, and I'm FaceTiming with them. I'm flying to them, and they're working at my competition. They might say, Anthony, I will never ever leave this company. I will never leave Lending Tree, ever, ever, ever. That's a big company in my space. Never leave them. Great. How can I be friends with this person? How can I spend time with them? And one day, maybe they'll come over. So it's little things as far as selling the vision to these people, because money might not motivate some people. So maybe it is very much so selling the vision. It's you adding value along the way. So I'm sending them articles on how to be, they just had one individual, for instance, just had a kid, and I'm sending them, I've never had a kid, but I'm sending, the top cribs that help kids go to bed. I'm sending sleep coaches over there. I mean, I even paid for someone to go in there. And this is a guy that doesn't work for me, by the way. This is just someone who I've created as a friend that maybe one day will come into the organization. But I think it's just doing that more than other people are doing and really investing in people even before they're your people. That attracts a lot of A players too. A players eventually hit a point where more money doesn't motivate them. They want to make an impact. They want to have vision, things like that. And I think the better you can get at selling the vision of your company and why you guys do what you do, the more you're going to attract better vendors, better team morale, anything, A to Z, customers, all that.
I think there's a few key things that you just said there. One is not money. Money isn't the motivator for everyone, right? So you've got to really build a relationship with an individual, a deep, meaningful relationship, get to know them a little bit better than just the surface level, and then see what it really is the main driver for them. Is it family? Is it kids? Is it sports team if they're a big Lakers fan and you can get tickets and you take them and you build experiences with people, and that really takes the friendship to the next level. And then, like you said, if one day that day happens and they come work for you, or even not, and they may even just be a good referral source or whatever that looks like, it's really invested in that person regardless of what the outcome is. You're not attached to any one outcome. You're attached into building the relationship is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, 100%. Adding value. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so as we kind of look to wrap up, tell us a little bit more about Siteflood and how you've grown that, and now you have multiple verticals. It's not just one. Can you share a little bit more about what you guys do and how that works?
For sure. Yeah, that's the holding company for really at the end of the day. We went from a marketing agency, a hire for service. You pay $10,000 a month for your SEO, to actually now owning the websites and spending our own money. So we're wearing all the risk. And then we productize the service. So now every customer we send, it's $50 a customer versus $10,000 a month for SEO. So it's a lot easier sale. It's also much more scalable. You also don't give a shit who I am. It's very X's and O's. You care more about, okay, I took on, I got 10 customers in the door this month. I paid you X, I revenued X, or I profited X. Great. I want to buy more of your stuff. So I think that came through one, again, the idea of productizing the service, niching down, which for us was in the actual financial services space. So like a debt relief company or a personal loan company, and just really focusing on those types of companies and industries for really 2 to 3 years. That's all we focused on before picking up the next one and the next one and the next one. But I think the lessons in here, one is, I heard it all the time. It never clicked with me, which was niching down and getting very specific on the industries that I was focused on or the customer that I wanted to attract. And, I think early stages in a business, it's, you take on anybody and everybody that can pay you money. And I get that. And that's valid. I think the quicker you can get to knowing who your exact customer is and only taking on those types of customers is also a very integral part in growth to a business. And it took me almost a half a decade, it took me about 5 years to really understand the value of just focusing on one space and one type of customer versus all different industries and spaces and customers and things like that. It went again, productize the service, niche down, 2 great lessons within that. And then third one is just, we've got a curse. We're marketers, so I can market anything, which means I can market anything. So I can get very shiny object syndrome at any time and want to market 23andMe products or this pillow or this, you know what I mean? Versus stick to what we're good at. So that saying no is who is it? Warren Buffett and Bill Gates both said, what's the number one word to your success? They both held up the sign focus, you know, and I think that's very important, especially as you see big companies, or you see, you know, I'd call us like a medium-sized company where you're like, wow, you guys do auto insurance, health insurance, do all these things. But you got to understand that came over really a decade period to even get to this, to where we are today. So it's very easy to see this and be like, you know, I'm a 2-year-old company. I need to have 15 product SKUs by tonight. And you're like, dude, focus on the one SKU that's already selling today. Double down on that. Learn how to do that better than anybody else before you even think of even just a quick little pivot of a second SKU or a third SKU or service line or product line. I think that's very important. That focus piece, that saying no, is something I continue to try and flex and practice over and over again. Who am I talking with? Who am I meeting with? What opportunities am I taking on or entertaining? Who am I having dinner with? No. The better I can say no throughout the day, the more I can just focus. I think that I've seen exponential growth in my life because of that.
Fantastic. Some great nuggets there. And again, I experienced exactly the same thing with Together CFO, because when we started out, we were a CFO services company, which means completely something different to everyone. You say, hey, what does that mean to you? Nobody really knows what that means, or it just means a lot of different things. So when we niched down into the tax savings for high net worth individuals, we then saw this huge exponential growth. And it's all come from exactly what you just said, which was, hey, pick a niche, focus in, get really clear on who your customer is, who that avatar is, and then get that refined, polished, and then double down and scale on it. So Anthony, that is some really, really sound advice. The last thing that we like to end with is I ask everyone the same question, and it's, if you had to put your success down to 3 factors and split it accordingly, how would you apportion your success between drive, skill, and luck?
Drive, 75%. Luck, 20. Skill, 5.
Fantastic. So you always get different answers on that. It's always like intriguing to see inside other people's minds when it comes to that. So a lot of people always put drive first because you need that drive first. Do you want to share a little bit more about the skill and the luck piece and your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think, you know, and I wouldn't even necessarily call it luck. I'll call it, you know, whatever you believe in, a higher power or whatever that is. I believe that, you know, manifest, whatever you believe in. I think it's a byproduct of doing a lot. And I love the term fail fast. And I love that idea of just, I remember when I first wanted to get a job, I literally had 7 different jobs, 7. And it was literally, I was getting up at 4 a.m. I was going to bed at 10 p.m. and I was in school. I was getting a degree, and they're all part-time jobs. Obviously I have 7 full-time jobs. Some of them were only a few hours a week, personally training or stuff. But the idea was still the same. Like I was doing so many different fucking things that I could cross off what I didn't like and circle faster than someone who just stuck, you know, did one job or stuck in one spot. So I think that drive creates what we call luck or opportunity. And then the skill is, my greatest skill is my drive. I'm a workhorse. I have so much passion for life. I have no tangible skills. I'm not smarter than anyone else. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to build a website. I don't know any of this shit. I have extreme drive and I have extreme passion for life and connecting people, putting them in the right places, and really focus on my vision, where I want to go. I spend a lot of time being very clear on what I want in life. And I find I get very lucky, or a lot of opportunities come my way when I'm working my ass off, directively, right? Like I'm not just like, you know, shoveling snow and being like, I'm going to be a millionaire because I'm working really hard for 12 hours. Like it's directed because I've had that direction on where I want to go. So I work really hard towards that. And whatever that is, it could be reaching out to people on LinkedIn, talking to people in a coffee shop. Doesn't matter to me. I find I get luckier through that. And yet the skill is so I think it's the most misunderstood victim mindset bullshit excuse people could ever give is that person's so smart, or they had so much this. You're lying to yourself because you're saying that's why I'm not doing something, and it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with someone's intellect or skill or anything like that. I firmly believe that.
Awesome, Anthony. I love what you said. You said my biggest skill is my drive. I love that phrase. That's epic. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing with us and taking the time to impact so many more thousands of people on top of the millions that you've already helped. If anyone wants to reach out to you or get in touch, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I'm super active on Instagram. It's just my first and last name, Anthony Sarandrea. Feel free to shoot me a message there. I try and respond to everybody within a couple of days. So any questions or thoughts, appreciate them. And yeah, happy to help anybody I can.
Yeah, we'll put the link down below for all those people watching. Anthony, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you.
Much love, bro.